In the fall of 1955, I went to Steinbeck's department store in Asbury Park to apply for a job as a sales girl. When I inquired with the manager, the woman at the counter told me, "We don't hire colored people for sales positions." I guess they would have hired me for a janitorial position if I wanted it, but I was determined to work as a sales girl. Why not? I knew fashion as well as anyone, fashion, makeup, and art, and I was tired of waitressing. I needed an in. I called my friend Beverly. Her dad was a doctor in Asbury Park, a colored doctor. He was respected in the community. He was the first colored man they allowed to serve on the school board. We told Beverly's dad, the doctor, our plea to be sales girls. We wanted it so bad. Beverly wanted to be a sales girl as bad as I did. Her father started making phone calls. He couldn't get us in at Steinbeck's, but he helped us get another job. There was another department store, Tepper's department store. The doctor got me and Beverly job as sales girls at Tepper's. But officially we got hired as stock girls. That was the title they gave to colored girls who did sales. See, the black and the white girls that worked there all did the same job. We showed merchandise to customers, and we rang up sales on the cash register. But the white girls were called sales girls, and the colored girls were called stockers. We did the same job, but under a different title and for a different pay. When I was 13 years old, one of the girls from our Girl Scout troop invited me over for lunch. 5 of us girls were giggly, and we sat down at the dining room table. My friend's family had a colored housekeeper, and the mother had asked the housekeeper to make us girls sandwiches for lunch. When the housekeeper brought the sandwiches into the dining room, she placed each girl's plate down quietly before her. But when she put my plate down on the table before me, she slapped the plate down on the table in my face. I didn't understand why she was nice to the white girls, but not nice to me. I guess she was willing to smile in the white people's faces to demean herself, but not willing to do the same for me. When I was 13 years old, my Girl Scout troop went to Asbury Park, and we wanted to swim in the public swimming pool. The man at the front desk would not let us in at first. He objected to me coming in because I was colored. All the other girls in the troop were white and Jewish, and I alone was the only Negro. My friend's mother was in charge of the troop. She went to talk to the man up close. They whispered for a few minutes. Finally, after some back and forth, he let us into the public swimming pool. So what did she say to him so he would let us in? Did she remind him that all men are created equal? No. She told him that my skin was tan, not brown, and that I was not black. I was Hawaiian. My sister and I got summer jobs waitressing during high school. She worked at the Stone Post Inn, and I worked at the Sandpiper. Colored people could not eat at these establishments. We could only wait on tables. White people couldn't wait on tables there. They could only be guests who got waited on by the black staff. If a colored family on vacation came in and sat down at a table, they would be ignored. They wouldn't get served. Management would not tolerate racial integration. The South had white and colored signs to tell you who could eat there. The North was no different, really. We just didn't have signs. I played with the Italian prisoners of war they brought to New Jersey during World War II. We snuck around the chicken wire to where they showed movies to the prisoners of war. They got 3 square meals a day. They got more than what our prisoners got. My father was the director of the colored USO, Camp Kilmer, New Jersey. White and colored had separate USOs. They were segregated. I was in love with one of the soldiers. I was 6 and he was 24, probably. He used to come to play pool at the colored USO. I followed him around from room to room. He said, "When you grow up, I'm going to marry you." That made me so happy. We were going to get married. I was so excited I scurried out the pool hall, and then I ran to tell my father. My friend Freddie started pulling away from me in 9th grade. He gave me a dirty look when I raised my hand in class. He never raised his hand in class. We had white teachers in a mostly white school, but the teachers were nice to me. I became a twirler. Another black girl, a cheerleader, she told me, "They are never going to let you be the head of the twirlers." Now, she was mistaken. I was picked to be the captain of the twirlers. She was not nice, just like her uncle, a notorious police officer on the Asbury Park Police Department, known for going into Asbury Park's black neighborhood and beating heads. There were quite a few poor white kids at Manasquan. A white girl, Betty, she sat in front of me in class. She had brown hair, cut into a bowl cut. Her clothes were not clean. Her neck was dirty. I didn't understand. Why didn't she wash her neck? The black kids in the cafeteria got mad at me at lunch. I didn't sit with them. I sat with my white friends I had gone to school with in Belmar. Our senior year, Betty's brother liked me. I never really liked him back. Not because he was poor, and not because he was white. I just didn't like him. He was cute, but Betty's brother didn't have that one thing. He didn't give me that feeling, like you hear in the song by Sarah Vaughan. The evening breeze caressed the trees tenderly. There was a very serious, dangerous trend going on among young people back then. In fact, in 1954, the Senate Judiciary Committee set up a subcommittee to look into the harmful effects of comic books. Highly colored comic books was leading to juvenile delinquency. Comic books that spoiled a young mind of the ability to appreciate great literature like Shakespeare or Dostoevsky. Another great concern was the attire of youth. It had been written about in the newspapers. It was almost a political issue. Teenagers wore them on the weekends, dungarees. Jeans were the clothes of juvenile delinquents, the rebels who didn't respect the all-American values of the older generation. We wore blue jeans with my dad's old cotton shirts and penny loafers with the heels smashed down. But the 1950s was a time of dressing correctly. Like a black man who worked as an elevator operator, he would not leave his house without wearing a suit and tie. He'd change into his uniform at work. Experts informed the nation. Young people were going wild wearing blue jeans and leather jackets. According to the 1954 book Seduction of Innocence by Friedrich Wertham, comic books were causing juvenile delinquency. So all parents had to be on high alert. This too story had an unexpected ending. When we were kids, it only cost 9 cents to go to the movies. If you had a dime, you'd have a penny left over for candy. If you were rich and had 15 cents, you could buy abominable Turkish taffy. My sister ate some candy, and she got an abscess on her tooth. I guess she didn't brush her teeth hard enough, and she was hurting. My mother called the dentist, but he wouldn't talk about it. The dentist in Belmar wouldn't see colored kids, and he made no exceptions. My mother spoke with my father, and he took my sister on the train to Manhattan. They had colored dentists. That's when I learned if you had black business to take care of, like an abscessed tooth, you had to go to Harlem. When you're a kid, you have no choice. You have to live in your parents' house. You don't have an option. For 18 years, you live in your parents' world. Well, our next door neighbor, we lived at the Jersey Shore. She complained about everything. Her kids, her husband. She complained every day about her husband. She yelled from her kitchen window to my mother through our kitchen window. She complained her husband didn't do this. She complained her husband didn't do that. Her husband was 20 years older than her. He was an excellent carpenter. He extended their house in the back. He sanded the floors and painted the porch. He put in a commercial gas tank for oil heat. Our house was coal-fired heat. They took pride in their home. Our neighbor's husband worked for a rich man. That was his regular job. He was a chauffeur for a wealthy financier. This financier lived down the shore, but he worked in New York. Our neighbor, she did cooking and cleaning at the big house of the financier. That's what they called it, the big house. You know, when they needed extra help. And she also served lunch at the Businessman's Club in Asbury Park. Well, our neighbor, she complained about her employer. She complained about the grocery store. She complained about her relatives. She complained about her kids. I can't imagine how it was to live in the same house as her. At least we could escape. We could close our kitchen window. Well, our neighbor's kids, they moved away from home as fast as they could when they were 18 years old. Their oldest girl, she moved to California. After she left, she never came back. She could not stand the constant complaining that her mother did. She didn't come home to visit her mother and father, and she didn't come home to reunite with classmates. She didn't even invite her mother to her wedding. She wanted to be free. She never went back. She never wanted to hear her mother's voice again.